Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we've got a stack of sources on one of the biggest, well, literally biggest, phenomena in modern action fiction, Jack Reacher.
That's right. And our mission today is to really figure out what the future holds for this character.
It feels necessary, you know? For so many of you, Reacher, the Alan Ritchson version on Prime Video, has become the modern action hero. He's kind of erased the mixed feelings about the Tom Cruise movies.
Oh, absolutely. He's the drifter, the Avenger, just this massive global phenomenon.
But that huge success on TV is actually hiding a crisis at the heart of the Reacher universe, and that's what our sources are all about today. The books themselves are going through their biggest upheaval yet.
Exactly. Authorial succession. The creator, Lee Child, is officially retired from writing the novels.
So for this deep dive, we have to look at how that handover is working, right? We need to analyze the brand new book, number 30, Exit Strategy, and see how the fans are taking it.
And maybe the most important part, we have to look at how the TV show, which is a huge hit but is totally non-chronological, is basically acting as a lifeline for the whole franchise.
Okay, let's start there with the handover itself. Moving a character this big from one writer to another, that's a huge risk.
Especially while the creator is still around to watch.
Right. And Lee Child's reason for it was fascinating. He said his whole ambition, his entire career, was basically to give the character away.
It's a pretty wild statement, but it speaks to how he sees the character. He said he had a great run, a quarter of a century essentially, and he was just happy to sit back.
This isn't just a quiet retirement, though. It's a fundamental change to a multi-million-dollar brand.
And he didn't just sell it to the highest bidder. He passed the torch to his younger brother, Andrew Child. Andrew has now written Exit Strategy, and the one before it, The Sentinel.
So the continuity plan was a family affair.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so interesting. Andrew has known the character forever. He read the manuscript for the very first book, Killing Floor, and he calls Reacher his invisible brother.
So the goal was to make it, as seamless as possible.
That was the idea. And they have this shared philosophy, which they've both talked about publicly. They say, really, the author isn't important. It's the character that is the important thing.
They want you to buy the new Reacher, not the new book by Lee Child or Andrew Child.
Right. The character is the brand, not the author.
But is that even possible? I mean, Andrew has had to make some changes. We're talking about a guy who, for decades, wouldn't even carry a cell phone.
That's where you see the cracks in the seamless plan. Lee Child built Reacher by having him reject everything modern. No stuff, no tech. Andrew has had to, he's had to let a little of the 21st century in.
So what does that look like? Is he on Instagram now?
No, not quite. But he's less militantly anti-tech. The sources point out he might use an ATM card now. He'll use digital information if he has to. He's still a drifter, but a drifter who can, function in a world with Wi-Fi.
So he's keeping the moral compass, but maybe losing some of the old-fashioned quirks?
That's the tightrope he has to walk. And look, this idea of succession isn't totally new. We've seen it before.
Like with James Patterson finishing Michael Crichton's last novel?
Right, or Brandon Sanderson finishing Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time.
Oh.
But those were different.
How so?
Well, in those cases, the original author had passed away. Sanderson was working from Jordan's extensive notes. This is different. This is a planned, continuous brand management exercise. Lee Child is watching it happen.
And Andrew is inheriting book number 30. He doesn't get a fresh start. He gets 3 decades of fan expectations on his shoulders.
Which brings us to the real test, the book itself. Let's dive into Exit Strategy. Does the plan actually work on the page?
The setup, I have to say, sounds like classic Reacher.
Oh, absolutely. It starts with him just being Reacher, passing through.
First stop, a coffee shop in Baltimore. Black coffee, 2 refills, and of course he immediately finds trouble.
Yep, financial scammers ripping off seniors. Reacher intervenes.
Then he needs a new coat. He buys one described as large enough to fit a man the size of a bank vault.
And that's the inciting incident. He finds a handwritten note in the pocket, a desperate plea for help.
I love that. It's such a perfect Reacher hook. The plot kicks off just because he's this big, anonymous guy someone trusts.
From there it spirals into illegal shipping. Crooked politicians, military contractors, you know the drill.
And his motivation is still that core Reacher principle, right? His absolute hatred for the war for profit idea.
That's his kryptonite. He left the military because he saw the system get corrupted by money. Anytime a case touches on that, his mission is clear. He's still fighting the ghosts of the military-industrial complex.
Okay, so the core is there, but what about the writing itself? The little details, the literary fingerprints? What did the sources say has changed?
This is where it gets really interesting for the hardcore fans. Okay, first, the pocket inventory. In this book, he checks his pockets. Expired passport, ATM card, cash, and yes, the folding toothbrush gets one mention.
One mention, they had to get it in there.
They had to. Then there's the music. He's listening to Junior Wells. He goes to a blues concert. It's all part of the Drifter mythology.
But the big one, the one that everyone noticed, was the dialogue. Specifically, that famous line, Reacher said nothing.
That is Lee Child's signature. It's his syntactic. It shows Reacher thinking, observing, not wasting words. In Exit Strategy, it appears only once.
Wow, only once.
Right at the very end, almost like a tribute. Instead, you get phrases like, Reacher didn't reply 4 times, and Reacher didn't respond once.
See, that feels significant. The goal was seamless, but if you change the most iconic phrase in the whole series, that doesn't sound very seamless to me.
And you're not alone. That small change really reflects the larger fan reaction, which was, well, it was mostly disappointed.
The reviews were brutal. I saw words like convoluted, thin, jumbled, and incoherent.
Ouch. Yeah. A lot of critics said it was missing the Reacher magic. They complained about bad pacing, laughable dialogue, and forgettable side characters.
And the main criticism seemed to be aimed at Andrew Child's style, that it felt too clinical and mechanical.
Right. And that made Reacher himself seem less like a brilliant detective and more like a blunt instrument or even a dumb oaf.
How does that happen? How do you go from brilliant investigator to dumb oaf?
It's the plot. Lee Child's plots were always pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You could follow Reacher's logic. When a plot gets called convoluted, like this one did, it feels like Reacher is just punching his way through a mess instead of thinking his way through a problem.
And he felt too invincible, is that right? Like he was never really in danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we have to be fair here. How much of this is real criticism and how much is just fans resisting any change at all?
Good question. Was there a defense for the book?
There was. Some readers argued that Andrew's plotting is actually getting stronger, more complex, that the smart Reacher, the analyst, is coming back.
Okay, so there's a glimmer of hope. But there was another defense that I found really compelling.
Let me guess. The aging and saturation argument.
Exactly. Maybe the problem isn't the author. Maybe the problem is that it's the 30th book. How do you keep that momentum going?
It's an incredible challenge. How many times can a 6'5" giant wander into a random town and uncover a massive conspiracy before it starts to feel a little strained?
That strain is the perfect transition to the other side of the franchise, the elephant in the room.
Or the former military policeman in the room.
The Prime Video series, which is, by all accounts, a monster hit. It basically defined their brand of dad TV.
And it has 30 novels of material to pull from. Lee Child himself has said he completely trusts the showrunners.
And here's the key. The show is strategically ignoring the book order. They are not following the timeline at all.
It's a brilliant move. They're just cherry-picking the best, most cinematic plots.
Let's just run through it. Season 1 was Killing Floor. Book 1. Makes sense.
Right, the origin story. But then for Season 2, they jump to Bad Luck and Trouble, which is Book 11.
Season 3 is Persuader, Book 7. And Season 4, they've announced, Will Be Gone Tomorrow, Book 13.
They're jumping all over the place. They are completely avoiding any of the slower, maybe more dated middle books and just grabbing the high-concept bangers.
And that success is already building out a universe. There's an announced Neagley spin-off in the works.
Right. Now, who knows if that will actually happen with studios changing their minds all the time, but the fact that they're even talking about it shows how vital the TV brand is.
Okay, so let's put this all together for you. The Jack Reacher franchise is basically split in two right now.
On one side, you have the TV show. It's a huge hit. It's ignoring the timeline, and it's using the best of the best material.
And on the other side, you have the book series. It's facing fan burnout, criticism of the new author, and the massive weight of 30 years of continuity.
And that continuity is a real problem. In the books, if you follow the internal timeline, Jack Reacher is now 65 years old.
65? And he's been a homeless drifter for 30 years. Andrew Child's modernization, like letting him use an ATM, is really an attempt to deal with that.
He has to. An action hero who is technically a senior citizen just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then you have the TV show. Alan Ritson is in his 40s, and he's frozen in his prime. The show completely ignores Reacher's age, his tech phobia, all of it.
So that brings us to the final provocative thought for you to take away from all this.
When a franchise's source material, after 30 books, starts to struggle with quality and continuity, How much does the future of the entire franchise depend on the TV show's ability to just ignore all of that?
Is the TV show now forced to save the books by freezing the character in time, creating a new, cleaner canon for everyone to follow?
It completely flips the normal relationship between a book and its adaptation on its head. Something for you to think about the next time you see a giant man solve a problem with his fist.
A truly modern IP problem. Thanks for the sources. We'll see you for the next deep dive.